Uncle Victor Kaivi.
Aloha wina kako.
Aloha.
I was in the Army. I was just getting out of the Army in October 1959, so I missed the whole thing on statehood. All I could do was read about it in the newspapers. However, I was never given the chance to vote for or against. However, at that time, there were only two options. I don't know if they let the Native Hawaiian peoples know that probably if they could have organized better, they could have maybe formed a coalition to present a third option. Statehood at that time looked good for the Native Hawaiians at home. They got 2 more votes. They got guaranteed Senate seats. So then, their representation in the House went from 1 non-voting member to 2 voting members or 3 voting members. So at least they had a voice then, but it was always what was good for the state. What was good for Native Hawaiians never came into being until the 70s, when you heard about people like George Helm, Kimo Mitchell, Eddie Aikau, that, because of the Hokulea and the Hawaiian Renaissance, they started talking about, there's something better than this. What happens if we could stop the bombing on Kaho'olawe? That was one thing. If the Native Hawaiians could at least get this island that's a mound of dirt back and see if we could repatriate it or regrow all of the years of bombing and all the topsoil being removed, and see if we could put it back in Native Hawaiian lands. It was finally turned over to the Native Hawaiians later in the future if they ever should become a sovereign Native Hawaiian state or Native Hawaiian coalition that will take over the Kaho'olawe. Right now it's under Kaho'olawe Island Reserve Commission. And however, there is a Native Hawaiian that's in charge now of that commission. He's a commissioner, Michael Naho'opi'i. And they're all for conservation. You cannot fish on the outside waters of Kaho'olawe. So, they're trying to malama the ocean over there. And there's big fish, the porpoise and the seals, all frolic right around Kaho'olawe. But I think, that in itself could be a start. And I think, ceded land issues is another big issue. Right now before the Supreme Court, they're not going to rule on the ceded land issues that the state, since they lost to the state Supreme Court on ceded land issues, that they brought it before the Supreme Court of the land, and they took it and they said, we'll give you a reading later on. Everyone is hoping that the Supreme Court will rule in favor of the Native Hawaiians, because if they should lose that, the Native Americans would also lose all of their land. They could lose all of their lands that they have right now, and it's all under treaty. The U.S. had signed all of these treaties, and I think if the U.S. can see that there is an option for Native Hawaiians, but not only in the state of Hawaii, but also on the continent here, Alaska, and parts of the world. And I like Uncle Lekeke's idea about we should build up our pipeline through workforce development, and if we can get more people up here to get degrees and advanced degrees, especially Native Hawaiians, then we will be much better off when the opportunity comes up and says, we're looking for Native Hawaiian lawyers. I know there's quite a few of them out there, and they can go to college, University of Hawaii, which is a land-grant college. About 10 years ago, we challenged them. It says, now, why is it? Because our son went back to UH. He wanted to go back and get his master's in botany from UH. So we got hit with this $3,000 out-of-state fee. He says, now why is that? You know, here it is, land-grant college. It's on Hawaiian ceded lands. Why should they charge Native Hawaiians monies to go to their own college, really? So after 6 or 8 years, we finally got them to introduce the legislation within the state. And now every Native Hawaiian, all they have to prove, you don't even need 50%. If you can prove your genealogy or through your birth records that you have Native Hawaiian, they will, you don't have to pay the out-of-state residence fee, right? And however, they also tacked onto the bill that they also gave at least 250 waivers to any Native Hawaiians that go to the University of Hawaii, and all you have to do is apply. So I think the first year we got over 250, but now it's dwindling down, so I don't know why, the reason. I would love to see every Native Hawaiian applying for tuition waivers, you know, if they go to UH. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Uncle Victor.